Hello everyone, this is WCBB5 Fan here, and today, I'm gonna, because it's the 25-year anniversary of the Teletubbies, US Season 1 recap, excuse me, the Teletubbies US series, I should say, I'm gonna be doing, the Teletubbies US Season 1 recap. Now, this video will only discuss the the PBS versions with a few exceptions, because, but typically there's 4 versions. There's the PBS versions, Pledge Drive airings, Sprout airings, and rerun airings. But this video will mostly talk about just the PBS versions because, honestly, it's kind of hard for me to do all 4 versions. But if I've heard about other versions, I probably will discuss them. So yeah. So each episode is 26 minutes and 40 seconds, which is a little bit longer than the UK airings. So yeah. Anyway, so let's begin without further ado, shall we? All right. First up, by the way, before I get started, credit goes to Scooby-Doo 1998 for his recap. But I'm paraphrasing it, so the recap is my own. I mean, so that the recap is in my own words, basically. So yeah. So first up, we have is Emily and Jester. It has the Trit Trot scene from this episode debuted, by the way, on April 6th, 25 years ago today at the time you're watching this. So it has the scene from Emily in the Trap, the UK version, where the Teletubbies listen to the voice trumpet saying Trit Trot, because Trit Trot is the sound a horse makes when it walks. But here, instead of them saying Trit Trot, they say Trot Trot. It's the dialogue from Dance with the Teletubbies is used, and but it has a different female voice trumpet as well. So it has American voice trumpet though. So yeah, Dipsy gets chosen for the TV event. Now some of the TV events in the U.S. airings are shortened. They do play twice, with the exception of one episode, which I'll talk about when I do season 4. But it's just that when I say that, it means like some scenes are cut out. So yeah. The baby son does do her crescendo scream after that. This also happened in the next episode as well as one episode in season 3. And then after that, it has the scene from Yellow Cow, where the voice trumpet recites the Banbury Cross nursery rhyme. It has different dialogue though from the voice trumpet, unlike in nursery rhymes. And now, unlike in nursery rhymes, where the Teletubbies do not see the windmill spinning after that, here they do, and they go watch the animal parade. It's this, and the very first magic event both in the UK and the US. And then after that, it has another scene. The baby son giggles after that, and it has another scene. This one from Going for a Walk, where Lala goes for a happy walk. It cuts out the first opening shot, and it just shows the second. It just goes to the second one, and the part where Lala walks along the left path was shown in a "Say Hello to a New Friend" bumper, which would be shown after Teletubbies episode aired on PBS, which is kind of weird to be honest with you, because we just saw them in the episode. So yeah, the windmill does not spin after that. Instead, the baby son does her diminuendo scream, and then they do the tiptoe dance, the shortened version, because the horses walk very quietly. And the tiptoe dance is also a line dance, which is common in country music, apparently. It's the same version from Sarah Fraser the Ducks, where it has the same clip of the baby son with her diminuendo, doing her diminuendo scream before the dance, and her scream in excitement after that. And the voice trumpet was halfway up as well. That means, like, now if you want to know what I mean, take a look at Scooby-Doo 1998's community post. I'll put that in the description so you guys can understand. So you'll see what I mean. Now this episode I will talk about the pledge drive airing because I heard a lot about this, from a certain user who I won't bring, this in the next episode as well, from a certain user whose name I won't bring up because I cut ties with that user, last year. So yeah. The pledge drive airing has the scene, as a different opening scene from Arcaf Treacle, where the Teletubbies were on a hill saying their names. Because it's obviously the first episode in the U.S., so they had a scene where the Teletubbies introduced themselves. and then after the TV event, it keeps the opening shots from the original PBS version, but the Banbury Crossing is cut out. Instead, it goes right to the Animal Parade as well. And it's the extended version of the Tiptoe Dance this time, instead of the regular version. Oh, by the way, the pledge drive airings are exactly 3 minutes shorter than the regular PBS version. Same with along with the Sprout and rerun airings. They're also 26 minutes, 40 seconds long each, while the pledge drives are 23 minutes, 40 seconds long, so yeah. Poe's the Missing Teletubby and Tinky Winky's the Boo Shouter, which makes sense because when Poe's the Missing Teletubby, Tinky Winky jumps out first, Dipsy second, Lala third, and obviously Poe last, the Missing Teletubby. So yeah, the Missing Teletubby always pops out last. And when Tinky Winky's the Boo Shouter, he pops out of the hole, he jumps in the hole first when the Teletubbies say goodbye the third time, along with Dipsy, Lala, and Poe. And also in the PBS versions, unlike in the other versions, all four Teletubbies say goodbye a fourth time, which also happened to these Sunday specials, as well as most of the home videos, too. So, and when Tinky Winky's the Boo Shouter, he also, he says goodbye the fourth time, he's the first one to say goodbye the fourth time, along with Dipsy, Lala, and Poe in that order as well. So I thought I'd bring that up, so yeah. Anyway, next up is Ned's Bicycle, the first UK episode. So it has the scene from Throwing, where the Teletubbies get out of their bed and doing their morning exercises. But it has a different female voice trumpet, and also when the Field 8 shot is used at the end of that scene, it's in Throwing, which is where this episode is from. Tim Whitnall says Tubbies love to do their exercises and Tubbies love to run, while here Ralph Saxon, the American narrator, says Teletubbies love to do their exercises, but best of all, Teletubbies love to run. So yeah, by the way, Tim Whitnall, as everybody knows, is the UK narrator. And after that, the Tinky Winky Gets Picked for TV event. It's about a boy named Ned and his father Nigel, where they ride a bike, where they build a bike together, and Nigel rides the bike and pulls Ned along. It has different dialogue, though, from the child, unlike in Favorite Things. And then, now what's weird is, in the beginning of the TV event, we see Ned shoving his face in the camera, which I thought was very awkward. So, yeah. The baby son does do her crescendo scream, like I said earlier. And it still has and then after that, it still has the scene where the flag appears in Teletubby Land, because obviously there's a flag in the back of the bike of the TV event. It still keeps the windmill whooshing sound before the scene. The windmill does not spin after that, because originally in Ned's Bicycle it had the Animal Parade after that, but here the baby son giggles, and then then it has the Home Hill 4 opening shot, where like the camera kind of moves downwards towards the house and the windmill as well. And then the Teletubbies do the extremely rare shortened version of the Up and Down dance, which actually debuted 2 days prior to this episode, and which was in the Sunday special version of Handy Hands, and yeah. So now in this version, they do the they giggle. Their giggling is from the Round and Round dance and the Happy Dance, I believe. So yeah. And by the way, the regular version of the Up and Down dance debuted 3 days later, in Painting Easter Eggs, and there's actually another episode in this season where that also has that dance as well. So yeah. Now this I will talk about the pledge drive airing as well. At the end of the episode, let me just check here real quick. So it has the pledge drive airing has a scene from Level Crossing where the Teletubbies were playing a Ready, Set, Go game. But here they say set instead of steady, which also happened in another season 3 episode, I believe. But yeah. But instead of them doing the Up and Down dance after the flag scene, they do the Follow the Leader dance. It's the same version from Dance with the Teletubbies, where the Teletubbies sigh at the end, and the baby son does her diminuendo scream. So yeah. Lala's Missing Teletubby and Poe's the Boo Shouter. Next up is Music with Debbie. It has a scene from the UK version of Jumping, where the Teletubbies play a game of 4 happy Teletubbies, and it's the version from, and it's which also happened in Making Lanterns, but this is the version from the UK version of Jumping, because it has the same opening shots. So yeah. Anyway, and then, and by the way, it has different dialogue from Ralph Saxon. Now, when I say that, it means like, in most cases, the words are the same, but it's how he says them. But here, there is a different, he does have a different line here. When Poe lies on her back, between some hills, instead of Ralph Saxon saying, one happy Teletubby sitting in the sun, here he says, one happy Teletubby lying in the sun, so yeah. And then Poe gets picked for the TV event. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Poe gets picked for all the TV events which Debbie's involved. So, yeah. And then it has the scene from Tweet Tweet where the butterfly scene is... Where the butterfly from the Animal Parade appears. And, by the way, the part where the butterfly... Not butterfly. Where Poe arrives on her scooter was shown in a Say Hello to a New Friend bumper. And it has different dialogue from Ralph Saxon, unlike in Baby Animals. The windmill does not spin after that. Instead, the Teletubbies do the extended version of the bumping dance, which is a very common dance in the U.S. series. And it's this version is also very common, where it's the version from Feeding Sheep in the Winter, because it has the same clip of Baby Son's giggling at the end. So yeah. And the voice trumpet was halfway up. Dipsy's both the missing Teletubby and the boo shouter. Next up is ice skating. This episode I do remember seeing, but I'm not sure if it's this version or not. So, it still has the scene where Tinky Winky slips on some tubby custard. It starts with the Home Hill 1 opening shot, though. It's the same dialogue of Ralph Saxon's from Here Come the Teletubbies. In the UK version, when Lala slips in the tubby custard, Tim Whitnall says, don't tread in the tubby custard, which is weird, while here, Ralph Saxon says, don't step in the tubby custard, so yeah. But the Teletubbies still say don't tread, they say tread instead of step, which is kind of odd, so yeah. I guess that's how they say it in the UK. I guess that's the way I guess it has the same meaning in the UK, so yeah. Anyway, Dipsy gets picked for a TV event. It's about these kids going ice skating in an indoor rink. So yeah, and then now what's weird is when Dipsy's antenna lights up and he says again, Tinky Winky's antenna noise was heard instead of Dipsy's. So yeah. The baby son giggles instead of doing her crescendo scream, and then it still has the main scene where the Teletubbies were holding their hands together in the field, which was actually cut out of this, which was actually banned in the Sprout version. So yeah, but I don't know why. So yeah. And then the windmill does not spin after that, which because originally in the UK version it had the windmill stop spinning both off screen and on screen, which is weird. So yeah. But here the baby son does her screams in excitement, and then they do the extended version of the tiptoe dance because figure skaters do spin around on their toes when they skate. So yeah. And it's the same version from the UK version of Carnival, but the Teletubbies are heard giggling throughout the dance, unlike in that episode where they were silent. And, so yeah. And when they cheer at the end, it's the audio of them cheering it from the dancing, doing it from the dancing bear dancing twice. From after the bear dances the first time. We'll actually get to an episode very shortly which has that happening, which has that magic event, so yeah. The baby son giggles at the end, so yeah. Tinky Winky's the missing Teletubby, and Lala was the boo shutter, and Lala was also the boo shutter in the UK version as well of this episode. I just thought I'd mention that. So yeah. Next up is Washing Up. It has a scene from Living in Flat. Oh, and by the way, the second half of this episode was originally uploaded on YouTube back in 2017. And then 2 years later, in 2019, The Beast uploaded it, so yeah. Uploaded the whole episode, so yeah. It has a scene from Living in Flats where Lala dances with her ball, and Lala herself gets picked for a TV event. It's about a girl named Yvette who washes her plastic cups and saucers in the sink. Now, what's weird is Tinky Winky's antenna noise was heard instead of Lala's, because originally Living in Flats, because Tinky Winky was picked for the Living in Flats TV event, so yeah, as Nikki Youngkin would point it out. The baby son giggles instead of doing her crescendo scream, and then it has a scene from Cafe Chocolate where the Teletubbies were drinking some tubby custard, because when you wash dishes, other things are washed in the sink as well, like bowls, which is what the Teletubbies drink their tubby custard out of. It still has the 3 ships after that, and it still has that weird thing, that rare thing where the windmill spins, the first part of the Magic Band tune is heard, and then when the Teletubbies see it spinning, the second part of the Magic Band tune is heard, and then after they say, oh, and run off, the second part of the Magic Band tune plays again. And like I said, it's the 3 ships, but this time the Teletubbies are heard giggling, unlike in Cafe Chocolate where they were silent. And that's because, and the reason why this magic event is in this episode is because when the water drains, the sound of a plug hole is heard, and the water does go down the sink at the end of the TV, go down the drain at the end of the TV event, so yeah. The windmill does not stop spinning after that. Instead, it has the baby son, baby son giggling silently. And then they do the shortened version of the Stamping and Stepping dance, the same version from the UK version of Jumping, and also Dance with the Teletubbies, where it has the same clip of the baby son giggling silently at the end, so yeah. But the only difference, though, is the Teletubbies are heard cheering from Lorette tap dancing. The audio of them cheering is from Lorette tap dancing when they did the tiptoe dance. And it does keep the baby son smiling and sighing at the end. However, unlike in Jumping, the UK version, where the camera fades to the voice trumpet, here, it cuts to that, which is halfway up. Post both the missing Teletubby and the boo shatter. Oh, by the way, the voice trumpet's head immediately turns. So yeah, this actually happens quite a few episodes, too. So yeah. Next up is Jumping. This is an awesome episode, I gotta say. So it still has the main scene where the Teletubbies were jumping, but instead it's in the beginning of the episode instead of in the middle. It still has the dialogue of Ralph Saxon's from Dance with Teletubbies. And when Dipsy walks toward the flower, that was seen in a Say Hello to a New Friend bumper. And then when after Tinky Winky falls down at the end, it cuts straight to the windmill spinning for the TV event. Now Poe gets picked instead of Lala. It's a US version of the TV event where some kids were jumping in a city and a supermarket as well. Although the UK version was shown, the TV event was shown in a Season 5 episode, but I'll talk about that when I do Season 5. So, and then, after that, now what's weird is, after the TV event, ends with the baby son giggles, it immediately cuts straight to the windmill spinning for a magic event, which also happened in a Season 3 episode. But here, it has the, it has the dancing bear dancing twice. It's the same version from the set episode. And, now, I honestly hate when that happens, because, like, usually you would expect, like, a magic event, a main scene or a dance to happen, but nope, a magic event, so yeah. And then, after that, they do the jumping dance, the second extended version. It's the same version from Feeding Baby Penguins, because, which obviously makes sense to have that, because it's an episode about jumping, so yeah. And then it was the, And this was actually the version was from the Sunday special version of Going on a Train. So yeah. And then, but the windmill does not stop spinning after that, because the only episode that actually regular UK episode that had this was in Feeding Baby Penguins, which came out in December of '98. While this episode here aired on April 13th of that year. So yeah. Dipsy's the missing Teletubby, and Lala was the boo shutter. Next up is Bubbles. So it has a scene from Dandelion Clocks where Poe's having a blowy day, which makes sense because you do blow bubbles. So yeah, when you make bubbles, so yeah. And by the way, the majority of this scene was also shown in a Mac Activates introductory video, which also featured Barney from the episode Books Are Fun and Arthur. I can't remember what episode that's from. The clip of that was from that was in this video, so yeah. Now, when Poe sees the windmill spinning, the first part of Magic Event Tune is heard because in Dandelion Clocks it had the dancing bear after that, but here, when Poe says, uh-oh, the TV event tune plays as she goes up the slide. Lala gets picked for TV event, and then it has the scene from... it's about these kids making bubbles, and then after that it has a scene from Gymnastics, where Lala's ball bounces around the house. But it starts with the right path 1 opening shot instead of home hill 1, and it has different dialogue from Ralph Saxon, unlike in Favorite Things. And then after that they do the Happy Dance, which is the same version from Nursery Rhymes, where it has the same where the baby son screams in excitement after that, so yeah. Tinky Winky's the missing Teletubby, and Poe is the boo shouter. Shadows. This isn't... Now, I got something to say about the TV event in this one, but I'll talk about that when I get to it. So, it has the Twisty Dance regular version. It's the same version from Little Baby, the UK version, because it has the same opening shot. Because, when you make shadow puppets, they can make twisty moves, I guess. Tiki We gets picked for TV event. Now, here's what I gotta say about this TV event. It's a cool TV event, though. But what's weird is, this TV event features the same kids from the Photo Faces TV event, and Photo Faces is an episode that we'll get to at the very end of the season, so we're not going to get to that episode for quite a while. But, they showed Photo Faces for Shadows in the UK, but they showed this episode first before Photo Faces in the US for some reason. I don't know why. So, yeah. And then it has the scene from I Want to Be a Vet where Poe was... here the kids were playing making shadow puppets with their hands. And then after that, it has a scene from I Want to Be a Vet where Poe plays a hiding game. And it has that rare closing shot at the end, which also happened in I Want to Be a Vet. And when the baby son is shown after the scene, the first baby audio clip is plays differently. It's the audio of her sighing, so yeah. Poe's both the missing Teletubby and the Boo Shouter 2 times in a row where Poe's the Boo Shouter, so yeah. This also happened, a little bit later this season with a different Teletubby, though. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Next up is flamenco guitars, or guitars, as the way they say in the U.S. It has a scene from Going on a Train where the Teletubbies were going down the slide repeatedly. It's the same version from that episode, so yeah. Poe gets shows of a TV event. It's about these 2 girls who listen to and a guy named Tito who plays a Spanish guitar. And then it has the scene where, and then it still has the main scene where the Spanish guitar appears, but the Teletubbies do not see, but, in the UK version, it had the voice trumpet rising for Tubby Bye Bye after that, and the Teletubbies turn their heads to see it happening. While here, it has the baby son giggling, and then they do the extended version of the Round and Round dance, because the music during the dance sounds like country music, and guitars are country instruments, so yeah. It's the same version from Throwing, because it has the same baby son clip shown at the beginning. Instead she sighs, though, and then it has the same baby son clip at the end as well. Oh, by the way, this is the only U.S. episode where the baby son does her crescendo scream while she giggles after the TV event. So yeah, this also happened in the UK version as well. But at the end of the Round and Round dance, it has the baby son screaming in excitement though, and the Teletubbies are her cheering from Lorette tap dancing from the Tiptoe Dance again. So yeah. Anyway, so Dipsy's both the missing Teletubby and the Boo Shouter. Next up is Numbers 2. Now, I'm surprised they did this and this and Numbers 3 before they did Numbers 1, which is kind of weird. So, yeah, because, obviously, as everyone knows, 1 comes before 2. So, now, this episode I actually don't think makes sense at all, but I'll talk about what happens here. So, it has a scene from Ned's Bicycle, the UK version, where the windmill whooshing noise is heard during the opening shot. It has the same dialogue of Ralph Saxon's from Here Come the Teletubbies, but when the Teletubbies receive their toast, it's the audio of them receiving it from swans from the main scene. And the reason is because the windmill animation that's shown is the second windmill animation to be introduced in this series. So yeah. It still keeps the audio of the Teletubbies saying from the theme song though. Lala gets picked by TV, which makes sense because her name, and that's because her name is split into 2 parts. And it also has 2 syllables as well, which is interesting though because Lala was never chosen for any UK Numbers TV events. She actually gets picked for 2 more US Teletubbies Numbers TV events, which we'll get to later this season as well. And it has American children from Florida. I think it's at the Treasure Island School in Miami. I'll look it up. So it's about the Numbers TV events were. I'm just gonna say this right now. The Numbers TV events in the U.S. were filmed at the Treasure Island School in North Bay Village, Florida, which is about 10 miles northeast of Miami. For those that are wondering. So yeah, and then it has the scene from, and then after that it has the scene from christening where the magic cloud appears. It has different dialogue from Ralph Saxon, unlike in Big Hug. And I'll do it for you guys since I know you guys like it. Dipsy thought his hat smelled lovely. Eee! Oh no! Eee! Run away! Yeah. Okay. So anyway, and then after that, it has the splashing dance where it's the same version from Ice Cream Sundays because it has the same clip of the baby son screaming in excitement at the end, along with the said boo shouter, which was Lala, which another thing that makes sense because, like I said, her name has 2 syllables and it's split into 2 parts. So she's the boo shouter and Tinky Winky's the missing Teletubby, which I guess that makes sense too because Tinky Winky is also split into 2 parts, much like Lala. So yeah. Next up is Rolling. Now, this episode, I do remember the main scene at the end, but I don't remember the same way it happens here, but I'll talk about that when I get to it. So, it has the jumping dance, the second shortened version, the same version from Washing Up, the UK version, where it has the same opening shots and the windmill whooshing sound after that. Lala gets picked for TV, and that's because the Tinky Winky rolls down the hill at the end of the dance. Lala gets picked for TV event. It's about these kids rolling down a hill, and then it still has the main scene where the Teletubbies roll towards the house with their favorite things. It's a very short main scene, so after that they watch a magic event, but instead of the animal parade, which happened in the UK version, here they watch the dancing bear dancing once. It's the same version from the Ret tap dancing, where it has the same audio of the event from that episode, but it does have a clip of the baby son shown when they arrive, and it cuts out the first few seconds of Poe turning her head as the Teletubbies listen for the noise. And then after that, the baby son screams in excitement. And much like in the US version of Emily and Jester, the episode's not over yet. It has the rabbit song from Swimming with Stephanie, but it cuts out the first 2 scenes of the rabbits, and the first 2 bassoon sounds as well. And then it cuts out the shot of the field that was after the Home Hill 2 shot. And it just goes to the next scene, which is the scene from Helicopter, where Lala's ball gets stuck in a tree, which I do remember seeing, but I don't remember the episode going to Tubby Bye-Bye afterwards. I kind of remember it happened before a magic event, which happened in Helicopter, where after that, they go watch the 3 ships. So, yeah. And then, the windmill does not spin after that. Oh, and by the way, the reason why this scene is in the US version of Rolling is because Lala's favorite thing is a ball, which rolls. So, but the windmill does not spin after that. Instead, it cuts to the baby son doing her diminuendo scream from Tubby Bye Bye. And I think this version might be the version from Hermit Crab, where it has her doing it and the voice trumpet like in the same position, which was like a little bit above the flowers. So yeah, Poe's the missing Teletubby and Lala was the boo shouter. 2 episodes in a row, Lala was the boo shouter. So yeah. According to Scooby-Doo 1998, this also happened in the Sunday special version of Naughty. I'm sorry, no, the regular episode version of Naughty Snake. So yeah. Next up is Music with Debbie 2, and unfortunately, I did see this episode, and I'll explain why I wish I didn't. So yeah, but it still has actually I can explain it now because I do remember the opening scene here, which is still the scene where the Teletubbies running behind the hills, and I do remember that because I do remember the part where Ralph Saxon says, "Here come the Teletubbies." I'm actually surprised this was never shown in the Here Come the Teletubbies home video, because he does say Here Come the Teletubbies, which that should have been the first scene to be on there. So yeah. And I also remember the part where the Teletubbies say "uh-oh," and then they run away, and the narrator says, "There go the Teletubbies," and then when they disappear, he says, "All gone." So yeah. I already said who gets picked for TV event. So yeah. But I will tell you this: the reason why I wish I didn't see this episode is because in this TV event, towards the end, they recite this rhyme: 5 fat sausages sizzling in a pan. All of a sudden, one went bang! Yeah, the way they say bang the way they screamed it was so loud. It's kind of scary, so yeah. It's very unsettling, too. Anyway, after that, it still has the baby song giggles instead of her doing her crescendo scream. It still has the main scene where Tinky Winky and the 2 little Teletubbies scene where Tinky Winky and Poe play the 2 little Teletubbies games, so yeah. And then after that, before the episode ends, they do the happy dance. It's the same version from Nursery Rhymes because it has the same clip of the baby son screaming at the end, and the set boo shouter as well, except the voice trumpet, except unlike in Nursery Rhymes where it was rising, here it's halfway up. So yeah. Dipsy's both the missing Teletubby and boo shouter. Next up is feeding the chickens. This is an interesting one as well. After the baby son smiles after the theme song, it has the Home Hill 1 opening shot, and then it shows a random baby son clip out of nowhere. She giggles silently, so yeah. And then they do the bumping dance, the extended version. It's kind of the same version from Naughty Duck, which and this is actually the first episode in the entire world, even before the UK as well, to have this version of the bumping dance where they see the windmills, where the Teletubbies turn their heads at the end, or turn their heads back turn their heads at the end. But instead of them, but unlike in Naughty Duck, the regular version, they see where they saw the voice trumpet rising here, and much like in the Sunday special version of Naughty Duck, which is where this version of the dance is from, they see the windmill spinning, and then they go watch the TV event. And by the way, the audio of them saying "uh-oh" is from the previous episode, which was Music with Debbie 2. Oh, by the way, the U.S. version of Music with Debbie 1, going back to that, that's the U.S. version of Singing with Debbie. So, yeah. So, Dipsy gets shows for TV event here, and it's about these boys feeding their chickens on the farm. I think these are the same kids that were from another TV event that we'll get to later this season. So, yeah. And then after that, it still has the baby son does her diminuendo scream instead of her crescendo scream, and then it has the scene from Urban Birds where Dipsy spills his tubby custard onto his seat at the table, but it has the Home Hill 4 opening shot instead of Right Path 1. But when the Teletubbies sit down at the end, and the narrator says it was time to eat tubby custard, it has different dialogue of Ralph Saxon's, unlike a Funny Day if I haven't said so. It shows a close-up of Tinky Winky with his tubby custard, and the Teletubbies sitting at the table with their tubby custard together from the UK and US versions of ice skating. And then it has the Home Hill 5 shot, at the end, where the Teletubbies say tubby custard, yeah, and the baby son giggles for tubby bye bye. So yeah. Same missing Teletubby boo shout is kept from the UK version, which was, so Tinky Winky's missing Teletubby and Lala was the boo shout in both those versions. I actually thought Lala was going to be boo shout in this episode, and hallelujah. So yeah. By the way, we're going to see that combination quite a lot in this season. I'm just going to say this right now. So yeah. I forgot to mention that when I was talking about ice skating. Next up is numbers 3. We still haven't gotten to numbers 1 yet, but we're getting there. But this is an awesome episode. This is actually one of my favorite numbers episodes in the US. And this because everything here makes sense. It has but after the baby son smiles at the end, it has the Field 3 opening shot from Making Flowers, the UK version, which we'll get in the US version that we'll actually get to very shortly. And the falling down dance music is heard, and the camera fades to the dance immediately. So yeah. But it cuts out the first few seconds of it. So yeah. And that's because the Teletubbies do this dance 3 times. And yes, it has that Where Windmill close-up after that with the TV event music playing. It's taken from the UK version of Little Baby. And it cuts straight to the camera zooming into the windmill as well. This also happened in the Sunday special version of Body to Body, but but in that episode the windmill stopped spinning for Tubby Bye Bye. And there was no opening shot at all, either. So yeah, Tinky Winky gets picked for TV event because his antenna is a triangle, which obviously has 3 sides and 3 angles. And then after that, it has the scene from Guessing Game where Lala reads a rabbit book, and it has different dialogue from Ralph Saxon, unlike in Bedtime Stories and Lullabies. And and that's because Lala counts 3 rabbits. Now, after the baby son giggles, immediately cuts straight to the windmill spinning for a magic event. And what magic event fits perfect with numbers 3? The 3 ships. And this is the very first episode in the US series where the windmill stops spinning at the end. So yeah. This actually scared me when I first saw that, because usually you would see, because you're used to seeing the windmill, which is shaped like a pinwheel, spinning fast with pink sparkles coming out of it. And when you see the windmill, like, stopping, it looks a lot different, and the pink sparkles disappear, so yeah. And it's the same version from Bubble Pictures, where it has the same clip of the baby's son giggling, where they ride to their destination, and the set boo shouter, so yeah. And by the way, the Teletubbies do not say uh-oh at all, except in the theme song for the TV event, nor the Magic event. And this also happened in another Numbers episode, which I'll talk about when I do Season 3. So, yeah. The voice truck was halfway up as well. Post both the missing Teletubby and Boo Shouter. Next up is Carnival, which is another cool episode. So, yeah. It has a scene from Butterfly with Teletubby. It has the kite scene from Butterfly at the beginning. It's the same dialogue from Ralph Saxon's from Blue Sky. And that's because the reason why the scenes of this episode is because kites have material that are used in the celebration of Carnival. And sometimes you see kites flying in carnivals too, I believe. So, yeah. And I'll do it for you guys since I know you guys like it. When Poe flies all four kites at the same time, this happens. Then the wind blew, and blew, and blew, and blew, and blew! Oh, yeah. Yeah, I thought that part was so funny, so yeah. Anyway, but at the end of the main scene, you could briefly hear the Magic Band tune, because this was taken from the Sunday special version of Butterfly, which had the magic tree. But here, the baby son giggles in excitement, and then it just goes straight to the windmill spinning for the TV event. Dipsy gets picked for the TV event. It's actually now this TV event's actually about the kids celebrating Mardi Gras, which is a holiday that's celebrated in New Orleans. And it actually reminds me of the Wonder Pets episode of Save the Bullfrog, where they do dance where the pets actually dressed up in a party for Mardi Gras costumes. And they all look at the camera at the same time. But I'll talk more about... But I don't want to get too much off topic. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that as like a relation. So back to Carnival. It has... After the baby son giggles... the baby son giggles instead of doing her crescendo scream. And then it has the Follow the Leader dance. The same version from Carnival 2. Because it has the same opening shot at the beginning. But the Teletubbies... When the Teletubbies sit down, their noises are not heard. So yeah. But here's where things get interesting. When the Teletubbies look to the right, it shows the zoomed-in windmill clip. It's from Level Crossing, and then it shows stock footage from Sandcastles from the main scene, where the Teletubbies say "uh-oh" and from Music with Debbie 2, and the which also happened in the Sunday special version of Carnival 2. So yeah, and then they go watch the Animal Parade. It's the same version from Making Flowers, because it has the extended baby son clip during the Magic event. So yeah, and that's because the animals march in a parade like they did in the TV event. And this is the only U.S. episode, not counting Pledge Drive airings or any other airings, where the windmill actually stops spinning after the Animal Parade. It actually fades to the windmill stopping here. So yeah, and the voice trumpet was actually never mind. Lala's Missing Teletubby and Tinky Winky's the Boo Shouter. Even though I originally heard it was the other way around originally, where Tinky Winky was the Missing Teletubby and Lala was the Boo Shouter, which happened in the rerun version of this episode, so yeah. Next up is Making Flowers. So it still has the opening scene where Lala waters some flowers with a watering can, and it still has the same dialogue of both Ralph Saxon and Alex Pascal on the voice trumpet, where Alex Pascal sings, Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and pretty maids all in a row. Yeah, I just love the way he sings that. So yeah, it still has that bird's eye view windmill clip at the end, and it still has that era where the Teletubbies say their names the second time after they say it the first time, and Lala gets chosen for the TV event. It's about these kids that were in the same kids that were from a few other TV events, one of which we'll also get to later in the season. And then after that, now what's weird is it cuts out the baby son doing her crescendo scream. It does keep that clip, but it cuts out the part where she does that crescendo scream and instead she sighs, which is very weird. So yeah, even though the crescendo scream did scare me though. But after that, as everybody knows, it has the extremely rare extended version of the Twisty Dance, which actually is kind of boring, although I do like the dance. But when they do the second time, the music doesn't change at all. And it's the audio of them doing it from the... When they tell me say again, it's the audio of them doing it from the Dancing Bear when it dances twice. And they do the second time exactly the same as they did the first time, except Poe was still there. And the first time, Poe came a little late when she was about to join the dance. So after that, they see the windmill spinning for the Magic Event tune, which is the same. And they go watch the Magic Tree after that, and it's the same, which I guess makes sense because trees are plants like flowers are. So yeah. Anyway. And now what's weird is, now another thing that's actually pretty scary is when the windmill stops spinning and the pink sparkles disappear, you can hear the voice trumpet rising, and when the camera fades to it, its head immediately turns. So yeah. I saw a Season 5 episode where a similar thing happened, but that version was much scarier. But I'll talk about that when I do Season 5. So yeah. Dipsy's both the missing Teletubby and the Boo Shouter. Even though I originally heard Poe was going to be the Boo Shouter, but nope, it was Dipsy, so yeah. Next up is Emily in the Cart, the US version of Emily in the Trap. It still has the main scene where Poe chases the other Teletubbies on her scooter, but it happens at the beginning of the episode instead of in the middle. And then instead of the Magic Event tune, the windmill makes a whooshing sound, and the Teletubbies and once again the TV event music is from the UK version of Little Baby. So yeah, in fact the US version of that we'll get to that very shortly. Dipsy gets picked for TV event. It's where Jester, Emily's pony, pulls Emily and her mother on a cart. The TV event, much like in the US version of Emily Jester, this TV event here is shortened as well. And then it has a scene from digging in the sand for worms where Lala and Poe share the scooter because scooters and horse carriages have wheels. The windmill does not spin after that. Instead, it cuts to a closing shot with additional audio of Poe saying "Yay, scooter!" But you can hear a little bit of Magic Event tune though, because originally in Digging in the Sand for Worms it had the Animal Parade after that. And then it has the first shortened version of the Jumping Dance where they do it on the hills. Which is actually pretty sad, to be honest with you, because this is the only episode where it actually has the first version of the Jumping Dance, because I kind of wish more US, not counting Pledge Drives for other versions though, but just to make it clear, but I just wish more PBS versions had that version of the Jumping Dance as well. So yeah. And it's the same version for Butterfly where it has the same closing shot and baby's son excitement scream at the beginning after the kite scene. That originally happened at the kite scene. So, and when the camera immediately cuts to Tubby Bye Bye, but you can hear the voice trumpet rising right before the camera cuts to the voice to it, which its head immediately turns. So yeah, this actually happened in 2 other episodes, which we'll get to later this season, I believe. There's at least 2 other ones. So yeah, same Boo Shouter missing Teletubbies kept from the UK version, where Tinky Winky's missing Teletubby and Lala's the Boo Shouter. Next up is Amy's Pasta. It has a scene where Teletubbies were having some Tubby toast at the table. I actually think I saw this episode because I do remember the voice trumpet rising. Because I think I seen this episode because that scene did sound familiar to me where it happened before a TV event. Lala gets picked for a TV event, which makes sense because Pasta is yellow and she is yellow as well. It's about 2 girls named Amy and Georgia, and along with Amy's dad making some pasta. This is actually the US version of Amy's house, I believe. So yeah. It still has the main scene where the ball string appears in Teletubby Land, but it has different dialogue from Rolf Saxon, unlike in Funny Day. And then after that, they do the extended version of the Stamping and Stepping dance. And it's the same version from Going for a Walk, where the Teletubbies were silent during the dance until the end, where they cheer. And the baby son does do her diminuendo scream as well. And the voice trumpet was halfway up. Its head, is about to turn, literally, when the camera cuts to it. So, yeah. Post both the missing Teletubby and the Boo Shouter. Next up is Little Baby. This is actually my favorite episode of the season. So, it has a scene from the UK version of Swimming with Stephanie, where the Teletubbies fall asleep on a hill. And it's the same version of this. It's the same version from that episode because it has the same opening shots and windmill whooshing sound after that. And the reason why it has this opening scene is because babies do sleep quite a bit. Tinky Winky gets picked for TV event. It's about this guy named Alex Pascal who sings this to the babies in a nursery. Little baby, little baby, little baby. I'm not going to sing the whole thing because I don't really want to spoil it. So yeah, because it's kind of long and I don't want to spoil it. So yeah. And then after that, it has the scene from the Rabbit song from Paddling Pool, but it shows just the first 3 shots of it with the last part of the song playing. And then it just goes to the next, and then it fades to the opening shot for the next scene, which is the scene from the second UK version of Numbers 1, where the Teletubbies don't want to go to sleep. Instead, they want to do something else. And this was actually shown as a bonus feature in a Teletubbies home video. I can't remember what home video was shown, but yeah, I'll put it in the description, so yeah. And then after that, it has the shortened version of the Tiptoe dance. It's the same version from Emily and Jester, where it has the US version, where it has the same audio of the Teletubbies giggling and cheering, along with the same Baby Song clip at the end. But it has a different giggle, though, and that's because, and the reason why it has the Tiptoe dance is because when you tiptoe, you make, it's a quiet noise, and you don't wake up anybody else. So, yeah. The only difference, though, it has the same boost shutter as the US version of Emily Jester, by the way, but the voice trumpet was not halfway up. Instead, it just rises normally. Lala's Missing Teletubby and Tiggy Wiggy's the boost shutter. Next up is Rabbits. So, it has the scene from... It has the Jack and Jill scene from Numbers 2 version 1, where Dipsy and Lala pretend to be Jack and Jill when the voice trumpet recites the rhyme, but it has different dialogue with the voice trumpet, unlike in nursery rhymes. It has a, so yeah, and that's because rabbits live in burrows and hills, so yeah. But it has the opening shots from Numbers 5 version 2 from the main scene, so yeah. But, so yeah. It just cuts to the flowers talking at the beginning of the scene. And it has... And, Poe gets picked for a TV event. This is the only TV event to... This is the only Andy Brown TV event to ever get a US version. I'll go back to Little Baby real quick. That was the first of only 2 Alex Pascal TV events to ever get episodes to ever get a US version. The other one I'll talk about when I do Season 3. Although the Wake Up TV event was shown in Bedtime Stories and Lullabies. But here, this is the only Andy Brown episode to ever get a US version. Although the Leave Steve event was shown in the Magic Pumpkin video, so yeah. And then it has the scene from Gospel Singing where the Teletubbies play an extended version of the 4 Happy Teletubbies. And it does keep the dialogue of Ralph Saxon's from Here Come the Teletubbies. So yeah. And that's because because the Teletubbies do a lot of things that rabbits do, like jumping, hiding, and peeking out. So yeah. And then the windmill does not stop spinning. Instead, it spins for a magic event. And it's the same one from the UK version of Delilah Packing, where it has the same audio of the birds tweeting, except the magic event tune is slowed down. But it does keep the magic event that was from that episode, which is the Magic House, the bottom right window version. This is the first US episode actually to have the Magic House. I guess it's because they were trying to make it less scary for the kids. So yeah. And that's because the music is when the music heard when the house fades in kind of sounds like the rabbit song, so yeah. And this is it's the same version from the Sunday special version of another episode, which we'll get to a little bit later in the season, so yeah. Now website said the Magic House comes right after the TV event and has the happy dance at the end, so yeah. Nope, it just ends, but nope, it ends after the Magic event, Magic House. And the voice trip was halfway up, so yeah. Dipsy's both the Missing Teletubby and Boo Shatter. Now we get to Numbers 1, finally. So, yeah. And this is an awesome episode. I guess this was worth the wait. So, yeah. Anyway, so it has the main scene. It still has the scene where the Teletubbies take turns wearing the skirt. It has the same dialogue of Ralph Saxon's from Here Come the Teletubbies. And I'll do it for you guys since I know you guys like it. Then, it was Dipsy's turn to wear the skirt. Uh-oh! Run away! Dipsy! Dipsy, you gotta wear the skirt! Yeah. That's kind of funny. I was seeing Dipsy, like, overreacting when he didn't want to wear the skirt. I actually can't say I blame him, because usually, because that skirt was pink, and I guess it's more of a female color. Although I do like pink, I will admit, but yeah. Anyway, so back to Numbers 1. After the main scene, though, after the baby son giggles, screams, the bird's eye view windmill clip is shown, and then it just cuts straight to the windmill spinning the TV event without the Teletubbies saying "uh-oh" at all. Lala gets picked for a TV event, and then it has the scene from Balancing where the Teletubbies were standing on one leg, which fits perfectly. And then instead of them going to watch the Animal Parade, which happened in Balancing, they go watch the Dancing Bear dancing once, which also makes sense because the bear dances once, and it's one bear and one carousel. The ending, though, of the dance is from... Oh, and this is the version from the Sunday special version of Bubble Pictures, and also, it uses the Tubby Bye. It kind of uses the Tubby Bye Bye from a much later UK episode called My Pretend Friend, which did not come out until 1999, I think. I could be wrong, though. Let me just check and see here. Which, that happened, by the way, after the Dancing Bear dancing twice. Oh, no, it came out in 2001. I'm sorry. It came out in 2001. Sorry, my bad. Anyway, and then the windmill stopped spinning after that, and now the reason why I say it's kind of the version from that episode is because the camera immediately fades to the voice trumpet before the sparkles disappear, and it's halfway up, so yeah. Tiggy Wiggy's Missing Teletubby and Lala was the boo shouter, so yeah. Next up is Washing the Car. It still has the opening scene where Poe chases the other Teletubbies and the doo-doo on her scooter. And then Poe gets picked for TV events about these kids, where 3 kids and a dad watch their car at the home. And then it has a scene it still has the main scene where the doo-doo gets washed by the Teletubbies, with their sponges. And the Teletubbies wash themselves with their sponges. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I actually think I saw this episode, because I do remember, a scene where the Teletubbies, use their sponges before a magic event happens, which happens here. But I'll talk about the magic event in just a moment. But anyway, now when the windmill spins, the first part of Magic Event Tune is heard, which also happened in Naughty Nunu, and by the way, this is the same dialogue of Rolf Sackton's was used here from Naughty Nunu as well. But when the windmill spins when the camera cuts to the windmill spinning, you can hear the windmill stopping, because that happened in the UK version. So yeah, but here they go watch the 3 ships. So yeah. And by the way, this is the US version of this is the Sunday special version, except the TV event here plays twice, unlike in the Sunday special where it played once. And then the windmill stops spinning after that, so yeah. And by the way, the reason why it has the 3 ships is because water is used to wash cars, of course. Lala's Missing Teletubby and Poe's the boo shouter. Next up is Our Dog Alice. It has the extended version of the Calypso dance at the beginning, the same version from the Sunday special version of Jigsaw Rabbit, where it has the same opening shots, which is used from Living in Flats from the main scene, and the same clip of the baby son smiling at the end. And the reason why it has this dance is because dogs play with balls. So yeah. I actually have a dog, but she doesn't really play. But yeah, she doesn't usually play with balls at all, though. But anyway, and Lala's ball is seen during the beginning of the dance. So yeah. And also, this is the very first episode to have the Calypso dance in the entire world. It never debuted in the UK until the Sunday special version of Jigsaw Rabbit, like I said. And then after the baby son smiles, it shows stock footage from throwing from the opening scene, where the Teletubbies run to the field, they see the windmill spinning, and they go watch the TV event. It's from the Sunday special version of Herding Sheep. And so yeah, Dipsy gets chosen for the TV event. It's about these 2 girls go for a walk with their dog Alice. The same girls from the Making Flowers TV event, by the way. And then it has a scene from Walking the Dog where Dipsy, Lala, and Poe listen to a voice trumpet barking like a dog. This is actually the only scene where Dipsy and Lala and Poe appear without Tiggy Winky, by the way. I just thought I'd mention that. And then after that, after Baby Son screams in excitement, it has additional Baby Son audio. It cuts straight to windmill spinning with the second part of Magic Event Tune, which is the Animal Parade. It has the elephant trumpet noise. Oh, by the way, all the episodes this season that have the Animal Parade have the elephant trumpet noise being heard, by the way. But when the Teletubbies arrive, though, the elephant trumpet noise is heard a little too early, and it's heard right away. And then after that, the Baby Son giggles at the end. It's the same version from the UK version of Balancing, excuse me. And the voice trumpet was halfway up. Oh, I'm sorry, no, it's taken from Numbers 2, version 2. I'm sorry by that. Anyway, and the voice trumpet's head immediately turns. Poe's Missing Teletubby and Tiggy Wiggy's the boo shouter. Next up is Basketball. It has a scene from Flamenco Guitars, the UK version, where the Teletubbies bump into each other and fall down the house by the slide. It's the same version of the segment from that episode, where it has the same opening shots. Tiggy Wiggy gets chosen for TV event. It's about a boy named Jordan who plays basketball with his dad. Jordan Matthews is his name, and his dad, I think his name is Philip Matthews. Hang on a second. He was the coach of the Sacramento Kings. This was filmed in the San Francisco, or maybe the Golden State Warriors. I keep forgetting. Hang on. Yeah, it is. It's Phil Matthews. I thought so. He was the coach, and this was filmed in San Francisco, California, where at the time, Philip Matthews was the, and this was played on, and this event was actually filmed on the Sobrato Center Court, which is now called the War Memorial at the Sobrato Center. It's in San Francisco, California. Thought so. And fun fact, I actually have, I know a few people who grew up there, by the way. But, anyway, so yeah. Anyway, so back to basketball. And by the way, when C1 and Abel uploaded this episode, he was credited in a news source, so yeah. And then so back to basketball. Anyway, so after that, it has a scene from Living in Flats where the Teletubbies take turns to hold a balloon. But it has the opening shots from Chinese New Year from the main scene. And then it has the Stamping and Stepping Dance extended version because basketball players stamp and step as they run across a basketball court. It's the same version from Going for a Walk, where the Teletubbies are silent throughout the dance, and also the US version of Amy's Pasta, and the same order of them cheering at the end, and the same Baby Sun clip where she does her diminuendo scream as well. So yeah, Dipsy's both the missing Teletubby and the Boo Shouter. Next up is Stonewall. This episode, we had very little knowledge of until it got uploaded, but it's pretty much the same as the UK version, where it still has the opening scene where Teletubbies enter their house from the front entrance. Poe gets chosen for the TV event, which is shortened here. It's about these two kids helping their dad fix a stone wall. By the way, this is the US version of Dry Stonewall. And then still has the main scene where the wall appears in Teletubby Land. It has the same dialogue of Ralph Saxon's All Together Teletubbies, but it has the opening shots from digging in the sand for crabs, so yeah. And then after that, it has the extended version of the bumping dance, the same version from Feeding Sheep in the Winter, where it has the same clip of Baby Sun giggling at the end. Now, here's where things get very scary. So after the Baby Sun giggles, we don't hear the voice tremor rising until right before it fades to it, and its head turns immediately. Yeah. That scared me when I first saw it, when I first saw this episode, so yeah. It kind of reminded me of the season 5 episode where a similar thing happened, but like I said when I was talking about Making Flowers, that version was much scarier. So yeah, but I'll talk more about that when I do season 5. Anyway, so I'm taking Wiggy's missing Teletubby and Lala was the Boo Shouter. Next up is Twirlers. This I think debuted in the US before it debuted in the UK. I could be wrong though. Anyway, so it has a scene from Gymnastics where the Teletubbies were creeping behind the control panel. Poe gets chosen for TV event. It's about these kids from Portsmouth, Rhode Island, where the kids were marching and twirling batons. I actually know a few people who live in that state. I've actually been to Rhode Island myself, but not Portsmouth though. But yeah. So yeah. Anyway, it has the scene from Naughty Sausage where Lala does a secret dance because people sometimes dance when twirling a baton. Now, this scene replaced the Boom Boom Dance segment. Oh gosh, don't even get me started with that episode when I do season 3. So yeah, but it has different dialogue from Ralph Saxon, unlike in Silly Songs and Funny Dances. So yeah, from that whole video that I was just talking about when I was just mentioning that scene replaced the Boom Boom Dance segment. So yeah, and this TV event was later renamed as Twirling Batons in where this TV event was in the home video Go Exercise with Teletubbies, where this TV event was seen as a bonus feature, so yeah. The same Boo Shouter missing Teletubby is kept from the UK version, so Lala's missing Teletubby and Poe is the Boo Shouter. Delilah Packing, it has a scene, this episode I do remember seeing, it has a scene from Bubble Pictures where Poe shows us how to make tubby custard. I kind of remember the opening scene, but it has the alternate Right Path 2 shot instead of Right Path 1. But here, Ralph Saxon says spout instead of tap, I guess because that's how we call them in the U.S., so yeah. But when Poe is about to lower the tubby custard tap, she gasps and says tubby custard instead of tubby custard tap. But when the windmill spins at the end for the TV event, there's two different whooshing sounds are heard, which is kind of odd. Tiggy Wig gets picked for TV event. It's about a girl named Delilah along with her sister. I think her name is Cecilia, but I'm not sure. Fun fact, actually, never mind. Anyway, and then it still has the main scene where Tiggy Wiggy packs the other Teletubbies' favorite things into his bag. It has the same dialogue of Ralph Saxon's from Here Come the Teletubbies. I do remember that main scene, and yeah. Hang on a second, guys. It has the shot that starts with the shot of two rabbits playing from nursery rhymes from after the Jack and Jill scene, which also happened in another episode, which we'll get to shortly. But it has alternate opening music playing, and the camera fades to the Home Hill 1 opening shot. So yeah. And then after that, they do the falling down dance because Tinky Winky has his bag with him during the dance, and like I said when I was talking about the main scene, it indicates we pack things into bags. So yeah, and it's a version from Drawing Cacti because that's the same Baby Sun clip at the beginning and at the end, but it has additional audio of her sighing before she giggles, so yeah. And the voice trumpet's delayed. This is the only episode this season, not counting Pledge Drive airing, not counting any other versions of these episodes where the voice trumpet's delayed. Although here you can hear it rise, you can hear the voice trumpet as it stays there. So yeah. Poe's Missing Teletubby and Tinky Winky's The Boo Shouter. Next up is numbers 4. This episode I do remember seeing. Now before this episode was uploaded in 2021 by a user, by Mr. Media Man, who unfortunately deleted his channel by the way, Mr. Media Man, if you're watching this, I wish you well. I wish you well in your future. So yeah, but anyway, back to numbers 4. Now, we were having a debate about this in another episode, which we'll talk about very shortly. Before this episode was up, before this episode and that episode were uploaded. So yeah. So back to numbers 4. It has the conga line scene from numbers 5 version 1, but it has the field 7 opening shot. And that's because, and the reason why it has the scene is because the scene has 4 Teletubbies, and and like I said, it's about the number 4. Lala gets picked for a TV event, it's about, but when Lala gets picked the first time, her dialogue is off sync, like she says it a little late, and when Lala says again, it's taken from Our Pig Winnie, so yeah, and then it has after that it has the field 1 opening shot, field 2 opening shot, excuse me, for this next scene. 1, 2, 3, 4, sing a song of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, sing a song of 4. 4! Yeah, it has that scene. It's the same dial. Now, originally I heard a lot of people said it had a male voice trumpet, but I knew it had the regular, the original, the female voice trumpet from the UK version, from the first UK version, that is. And then after that, instead of the windmill stopping, the Teletubbies see the windmill spinning for a magic event. This actually happened. Now this is. Remember when I said I was talking about a Sunday special version of the episode? Well, here it is. They go watch the Magic House, the bottom right window, even though we originally thought it was going to be the top right or bottom left window versions, but nope, it's bottom right window. And it's literally the same version of the US version of Looking for Rabbits because it has the same Baby Sun clip at the end. So yeah, and obviously it makes sense. Now here's what things. Now, by the way, websites mentioned that it had the magic tree, which happened in the Pledge Drive airing of this episode. A similar thing happened in the second US version of numbers 4, but I'll talk about that when I do season 5. So yeah. Anyway, and the reason why it has the magic house is because obviously there's 4 windows in the house, and plus there's a 4 on the door. So yeah. And by the way, the voice strip was halfway up as well. So yeah. And its head, like, it was about to turn when the camera cuts to it. So yeah, I knew it had that Baby Sun clip at the end, and so yeah. So Tinky. Now I do remember seeing the rerun airing, which has a different Boo Shouter because I kind of remember haven't had that happening. Although part of me thinks I might have seen this version as well, though. So yeah. So Tinky Winky. So I'll talk about the Boo Shouter Missing Teletubby that's in this episode first. So Tinky Winky's Missing Teletubby and Lala was the Boo Shouter, which makes sense because Lala loves to sing. And I want to say Poe might be the Boo Shouter in the rerun airing. Next up is Herding Sheep. Now, this episode, I think, gives an award to a certain Teletubby, but I'll talk about that in a moment. So it has the Field 7 opening shot, just like what the previous episode had. And then it has the Running Away dance, the extended version. It's the same version from Balancing, except the Teletubbies are heard. And that's because sheep do tend to run away, which kind of reminds you about Little Bo Peep, like the magic event there, which only happened in 1 episode in the US, but which is from season 4. And then the camera cuts to the windmill spinning, and then it shows stock footage from the Twisty dance, which is kind of weird. Don't you think they should have shown stock footage from the previous episode, because they were literally right in the same area as where they do the running away dance. So yeah, Dipsy gets shows for TV event. It's about these boys, the same boys. I think it's the same boys from the Feeding the Chickens TV event, and another episode which we'll get to in a little bit, where they herd their sheep. So yeah. The Baby Sun giggles instead of doing her crescendo scream, and then it has a scene from Making Fantastic Animals where a little lamb appears in Teletubby Land. It has different dialogue from Ralph Saxon, unlike in Baby Animals. So yeah. And the voice trip was halfway up. Dipsy's both the Missing Teletubby and Boo Shouter. I guess Dipsy's the winner in this episode, where Dipsy's the Missing Teletubby, the Chosen One, and the Boo Shouter. This also happened in a Season 4 episode, too. So, yeah. Oh god, now we get to this one. Playing in the Rain, the US version. This is the other episode I was talking about when I said we had a debate about what happened in this episode. So apparently the descriptions of this episode were correct. So it has this. So after Baby Son smiles at the theme song, it has the rabbit shot from Nursery Rhymes after the Jack and Jill scene with some music playing in E major. And then it has the up and down dance, the regular version. It's the same version from Painting Easter Eggs, and it's because where it has the same opening shot, the Home Hill 1 shot. And the reason why it has this dance is because the people open up their umbrellas and when the rain comes down. By the way, this is, I think, is the weirdest episode in the U.S. series. This and another. So anyway, Poe gets picked for TV events about a boy named Joseph, which coincidentally is my first name, and some kids at a school. I forget what it's in the UK somewhere, but yeah. Anyway, and then after the tea event, they do the splashing dance. Yeah, 2 dances in one episode, that is very strange. This is one of only 2 episodes that I'm aware of that actually has this two dances in one episode. The other one is an episode which I'll talk about when I do season 5. So, but here the Teletubbies are heard giggling during the dance, unlike in the UK version, where the Teletubbies were silent. But the Teletubbies were still heard cheering at the end, and it still keeps the same Baby Son clip. And then it still has the Mind the Puddle scene where it still has the same dialogue of Ralph Saxon's Here Come the Teletubbies. But here, much like in the US version of Ice Skating, in the UK version of Rain, when Dipsy steps in the puddle, Tim Whitnell says Dipsy trot in the puddle, while here, in the US version, Ralph Saxon says Dipsy stepped in the puddle. So yeah. I think Dipsy still says Dipsy trot in the puddle, though, so yeah. And then after that, there's still a magic event, and it's the 3 shifts, much like in the UK version. But this time, it's the version from Digging in the Sand for Crabs, where after that, the windmill stops spinning, along with the said boo shouter, which was Poe. So she's the boo shouter, and Lila's the missing Teletubby. Now, originally, I heard it had a different opening scene where which happened in the rerun airing, where it's the main scene from Spiders, where Tinky Winky listens to 2 voice trumpets reciting the nursery rhyme. So yeah. Next up is Orange Picking, the way Nick Yockey once said it. So it has a scene from picking and sorting with the new ties up Lila's ball, but it has the alternate version of starts with the Right Path 2 opening shot, and that's because Lila's ball is orange, of course. Lila herself gets picked for TV event, which also makes sense because, like I just said, her ball is orange. So yeah. So, and then it has the scene from the UK version of Feeding the Chickens, where the Tubby Toast machine makes Tubby Toast going and splattering everywhere inside. It has the same dialogue with Ralph Saxon's Here Come the Teletubbies, and the reason why it has this scene is because some people drink orange juice with toast for breakfast, as Scooby-Doo 1998 says. And then after that, it has the same closing shot that was. But then after the camera cuts back to the Teletubbies inside the house, it cuts back to the same closing shot shown before that clip happened, and then the Baby Son does her diminuendo scream. So yeah. And then they do the running away dance, the extended version, the same version from Dance with the Teletubbies, because it has the same clip of Baby Son diminuendo, has that same clip that I just talked about, the Baby Son, and the same Baby Son clip at the end where she giggles, but it has different audio at the beginning. So yeah. Now, I originally, referred to what I said about the US version of Twirlers. This episode actually debuted in the US before it debuted in the UK, so yeah. The voice trip was halfway up somewhat, so yeah. Poe's missing Teletubby and Tiggy Wiggy's the boo shouter. Next up is Swimming with Stephanie. Now, I will talk about one part of the TV event in this episode, though. So anyway, so the first scene, so it has a scene from Lighthouse where the star appears in the house. It has different dialogue from both Ralph Saxon and the voice trumpet, unlike in Nursery Rhymes. And the reason why it has a scene is because the kids in the TV event do sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star when they swim in the pool. Now, I honestly thought I saw this episode, but no, I actually saw a Season 5 episode where the kids were getting out of the pool as the TV event was over, but it didn't happen here. It happened in another episode, so yeah. Tiggy Wig gets picked for the TV event. It's about these kids who go swimming with a woman named Stephanie in an indoor pool. This kind of reminds me when I did my swimming lessons. Anyway, after that, it has a scene from Naughty Hat where the Teletubbies cannot find their favorite things, but then their favorite things turn up, so yeah. And things just appear. And then when it shows the Baby Son at the end, she does her diminuendo scream audio instead of screaming in excitement. So yeah. Tinky Winky's Missing Teletubby and Dipsy's the Boo Shouter. Next up is Cows and Calves. It has a scene from Painting with Hands and Feet, the UK version, where Tinky Winky, Dipsy, and Lala follow a trail of Tubby Custer footprints that were lit by Poe. It has the same dialogue of Ralph Saxon's from Here Come the Teletubbies, but instead of the Magic Event tune, which happened, unlike in Painting with Hands and Feet, where Magic Event tune was heard because that had the dancing bear after that, here it makes the whooshing sound where the Teletubbies, it happened from, the whooshing sound was heard from Feeding Baby Penguins after the jumping dance was heard. And, Tinky Winky shows for TV events about the same boys from the Feeding the Chickens TV event and also Herding Sheep, where the Teletubbies were, Tinky Winky shows for TV event, sorry about that, guys, sorry, I had to, there was some sirens being heard in the background, so I had to edit it out, so, yeah. So, Tinky Winky shows for TV events about these boys, who were feeding and watching their cows and their baby cows in the field. And then it still has the main scene where Tinky Winky, where the Teletubbies were making their Tubby Toast crumbs. But it's the version of the part where Teletubbies chase the Nunu was from Swans, where it shows the Home Hill 5 shot at the end, and the same clip of Bibi's son giggling, which is slightly different. And the narrator also says, and Teletubbies love each other very much, when the closing shot is shown, which is weird. So yeah, and the Teletubbies cheer after that. So yeah. From the tiptoe dance and during Lorette tap dancing. And then after that, instead of them going to watch the Animal Parade, which happened in the UK version, here they do the shortened version of the walking dance, which is the same version from Shadows, the UK version, except the Teletubbies are heard giggling, and it does have a baby son clip at the end. So yeah, the voice treble is halfway up. So yeah. Anyway, Tinky Winky's the Missing Teletubby for the second time in a row. So yeah, which is kind of weird. And Lala's the Boo Shouter, too, which also happened in the UK version, where Lala was the Boo Shouter in that episode as well. Next up is Mander Temple. It has a scene from Irish Dancing, the opening scene where the Teletubbies were doing their exercises after having some Tubby Toast, but it has a different female voice trumpet compared to the UK version of that. Poe gets picked with TV event. It's about these kids visiting a Mander Temple to celebrate a Diwali festival. And by the way, Nick Youngwood, if you're watching this, that is how they pronounce that word. Not Diwali or whatever how you pronounce it. It's Diwali. I learned this. I researched that. So yeah. It's now for those that don't know what a Diwali festival is. A Diwali festival. I just thought I'd give you some educational information about that since we're talking about this TV event that has it. It's a festival. That is, it's a festival that's celebrated in the fall, and this year, it'll be celebrated on November 12th, which is a Sunday. So, yeah, anyway, so it's where, it's a holiday that's celebrated in India, where, they observe some Daya and lighting, some, they have fireworks there, some gifts, feast, and sweets, of course, and families gather together, and it's featured in these religions: Hinduism, newer Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism. So yeah, just thought I'd give you guys some educational information about that. And then after that TV event, it has the scene from Swimming with Stephanie, the UK version, where the big puffy cloud appears, but it has a but it does not have the rabbit song though before that scene. It has that scene because during the first day of Diwali, people clean their homes, which happens at the end of this scene, where the Nunu tidies up the cloud and some Tubby custard that the Teletubbies were trying to make when the cloud was in their way. It has different dialogue of Ralph Saxon's, unlike in Funny Day, by the way, but much like in Funny Day, the windmill spins after that, but here it has the whoosh, the normal animation of the windmill spinning, and then it shows stock footage from Hanukkah. So yeah, where the Teletubbies run to the front of the house to see it spinning, and then unlike in Funny Day, which had the magic house, here it has the magic tree because trees are seen outside the temple during the TV event, and so yeah, and they go shopping for gold, but the magic tree here does have gold leaves, and doves are a symbol piece. So yeah, I wish we could all use some. We could all use that. I'm sure. So anyway, the baby son clip is shown after that, but it's the same version from Naughty Pig, but it has a different baby son clip after that, and the second audio is cut out as well. And the ending of this episode is from Ned's Geraniums, where it has the same baby sun clip shown after the splashing dance, along with the said boo shouter, which was Poe. So she's the boo shouter, and Lala's the missing Teletubby. Rollerblading. By the way, when CO108able uploaded the US version of Tubby Bye Bye, it was taken from this episode, just so you know, because it has the same credits. So it has a scene from Naughty Bee where Teletubbies were having their favorite things, but Poe's scooter is not shown until very late, until towards the end of the scene. It has different dialogue for Ralph Saxon, unlike in Favorite Things, but the scene is shortened as well because it cuts out the close-ups of Tinky Winky and Dipsy saying very busy. And the reason why it has that scene is because Poe's scooter and rollerblades both have wheels. So yeah. This is the only episode I'm aware of where segment was cut, was shortened. So yeah. Lala gets picked by TV event. It's about these two kids in New York City, which fun fact, I actually grew up near that city, where some kids were like rollerblading, or I call it roller skating. So yeah, but the TV event is also shortened, and then it has a scene from Playing Ball where Dipsy's hat changes different sizes, and it has the same dialogue of Ralph Saxon's from All Together Teletubbies, and that's it. So yeah, nothing else. Poe's missing Teletubby and Tinky Winky's the boo shouter. Next up is Colors Blue. Now, this one, I will talk about two versions of this, because I do remember seeing another version with this. Me and Ohio Teletubbies Universe both remember seeing a different version of this, but I'll talk about the PBS version first. So it has a scene from Carnival, the UK version, actually, no, the rerun version is pretty much the same as the PBS version, where it has a scene from Carnival, the UK version, where Lala's ball bounces all over Teletubby Land, which I do remember seeing. It's the same dialogue of Ralph Saxon's from Naughty Nunu, where, but when the Teletubbies see the windmill spin for TV event, it, much like in the US version of Delilah Packing, two different whooshing sounds are heard. So yeah. And the Teletubbies say uh-oh differently as well. And, so yeah. Also, and the reason is why it has a scene is because when Lala throws her ball in the air, we see the blue sky. When Tinky Winky sniffs flowers that are blue, when Lala's ball bonks the Teletubbies without them noticing at first, and you can see the ball coming out of a clear blue sky. So yeah. And the Nunu is seen at the end, and obviously the Nunu is blue. I wish the Nunu was featured more in this episode, so yeah. Lala gets picked for the TV event. I guess it makes sense to have her or Dipsy being picked for the TV event because actually no, it does make sense because yellow and blue both make green. So yeah. Or Poe could have been chosen as well because, like, blue and red both make purple. So, yeah. Anyway, after the TV event, it still has the main scene where Poe looks up at the sky, which I do remember seeing as well. The narrator, it has the same dialogue of both Ralph Saxon and Alex Pascal from the Blue Sky home video. Blue, blue, blue sky, blue, 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 blue. I do remember seeing this quite a few times on a weekend. I think it was during the 2006-2007 TV season. I'm pretty sure it was during that season because I do remember it had the regular PBS funding from season 3 onwards until before the 10-year anniversary came out. So yeah. Anyway, and then after that, instead of it having the splashing dance, which happened after that, instead of Baby Sun clip, it has the windmill spinning for the Magic Event tune, but it still cuts the part. It still has the part where Poe runs away from the puddle, and they go watch the 3 ships, which makes sense because water is blue, and it's the same version from same version from Tropical Fish because in the PBS version because it has the same because it has the windmill stopping, the camera cutting to Tubby Bye Bye, and the set boost shutter. So, now the rerun airing, the camera actually fades to Tubby Bye Bye like how it does normally in most episodes. So, yeah. That had the windmill stopping at the end. Anyway, so Dipsy's both the missing Teletubby and boost shutter in the PBS version, and Lala was the boost shutter in the rerun airing, where the version where the camera fades to the voice trumpet. Next up is Gymnastics. This is actually a very weird episode, I gotta say. It has a scene from Hanukkah, and by the way, this is the US version of Samara's Gymnastics, not the original UK version of that. It's the US version of Samara's Gymnastics, because it has that TV event. So it has a scene from Hanukkah where the Teletubbies were out in the field with their favorite things, but when the Teletubbies go, but the TV event music is played differently. Poe gets picked for a TV event. It's about this girl named Samara doing and some other kids going to a gymnasium to do some gymnastics. Now, I find it weird that they actually enter and exit through the emergency exit. Like, I wonder if they got in trouble for that. Anyway, because usually because usually you're not supposed to do that unless there's, like, an emergency. Anyway, after the TV event, it has a scene from Chinese New Year where the Teletubbies were blowing a tutor, where the tutor appears, which doesn't make any sense. First of all, that scene is very cringeworthy because when because it tickles some of the Teletubbies' tushes, so which is very, very odd. And I don't think this scene should have been fit. I mean, I actually did a custom US version where I made sure the length was 26 minutes 40 seconds, and it kept I kept the UK episode. I mean, like, they should have kept the regular scene for the UK version, which they did their own gymnastics, which is also shown in the PBS commercial as well, and they did this stretching dance, which would have also made sense because you do stretch when you do gymnastics sometimes. So yeah. And the Tubby, and, by the way, so the same boost shutter and Missing Teletubby is kept from the UK version, where Tiki Wink is Missing Teletubby and Lala's a boost shutter. However, in here, the Tubby Bye-Bye is off-sync. And no, and Scooby-Doo 1998 mentioned, it's not a tape error. This actually happened in the, when PBS aired this episode, so yeah. Next up is Ede's New Clothes. I don't know why it's called that. I'm going to just call it Eat New Clothes and not pluralize that word. It still has a scene where the Teletubbies pop and say one at a time in the field. Lala gets picked for TV event. It's about these, and by the way, Eid is not the name of a person, it's the name of an Islamic holiday, just so you guys understand that. It's about these kids buying some clothes for the celebration. So the TV, and then after that, it still has the main scene where Tiki, Winky, Dipsy, and Lala look at their reflections in a mirror. But obviously, they have to make adjustments in the mirrors because Tiki Winky is very tall. He's actually 10 feet tall, in case you want to know how tall he is. That's bigger than Big Bird. Isn't that crazy? Anyway, and it makes sense because we look at ourselves in the mirror after we get dressed, so we look awesome. Anyway, it does have additional Baby Sun audio at the end, and then it has the Round and Round dance extended version. It's the same version from Throwing. Oh, by the way, the Round and Round dance is a very common dance in the US series. Because especially the extended version. Although there's one US PBS version that actually has the shortened version of that dance. But I'll talk about that when I do season 5, which is kind of weird. It's kind of odd. They usually have the extended version because it's a very short dance. But anyway, it's the same version from Throwing because it has the Teletubbies giggling throughout the dance, the same Baby Sun clip at the end. But the Baby Sun does her diminuendo scream instead of screaming in excitement. So yeah. Lala's Missing Teletubby and Poe is the boo shouter. Next up is numbers 6. It has a scene from Feeding the Monkeys where the Teletubbies pop up from behind the hill, and also our Pig Winnie as well. But it has different dialogue of the Teletubbies though, which is kind of weird. Tiki Wink gets picked for the TV event instead of Dipsy. And then it still has the main scene where Tiki Wink, Dipsy, and Lala clean dirty knees off clean their knees with their sponges, and Poe, and they clean up Poe as well, who was dirty all over herself. I actually like the way Ralph Saxon said, "Look at Poe, she's dirty all over." Yeah, he sounded shocked. So yeah. Anyway, it has a different voice trumpet compared to the UK version, the first UK version that is. Now after that, you can hear a little bit of the windmill stopping because this scene had the windmill stopping off screen at the end. But here it has a magic event, which surprisingly was not. Going back to watching the card real quick, the magic event the three ships was not mentioned in the descriptions. Here, this episode does not mention the description does not mention a magic event at all. But here it does have a magic event, which is the dancing bear dancing once. It's the same version from Cafe Eggs, where it has the same Baby Sun clip at the end. I'm sorry. No, my mistake. No, with the same Baby Sun clip where the Teletubbies arrive to their destination. And the windmill stops spinning on screen at the end. I apologize about that. The windmill stops spinning on screen after that. And the voice strip was halfway up. However, but the second Sun Baby clip was in sync, unlike in Cafe Eggs, so yeah. But however, unlike in the US version numbers 1, we do see the sparkles disappearing. And it's actually the ending, and the Tubby Bye Bye is the same version from Good Morning, where the windmill stops spinning out, the stop spinning tune being out of sync, except the voice strip was halfway up, and unlike in the US version of numbers 1, we do see the pink sparkles do disappear before the camera fades to the voice trumpet. So yeah, Poe's Missing Teletubby and Tiki Winky's the boo shouter. Last episode of this season, Photo Faces. It has a scene from Watching the Bus where Tiki Winky, Dipsy, and Poe shout boo inside the house, which is very cringeworthy because they kind of get very close to the camera, their faces. Although it does make sense because usually when you take photos, you take pictures of their faces as the people. So yeah, Lala gets picked for TV event. It's about these kids taking the same kids from the Shadows TV event. where they take photos of each other's faces with some cameras. And then it has a scene from the UK version of Emily and Jester where the chair appears in Teletubby Land, which I do remember seeing. And that's because sometimes people sit in a chair to have their picture taken. But here, the windmill does not spin after that, unlike in that episode where it had the bird's eye view windmill clip. And then when they saw the windmill spinning, we saw the close-up view of the windmill start spinning where it usually stops spinning. Here, it has the baby son screaming in excitement, and it has a shot of 4 rabbits at a rabbit hole without any music. And then they do the extended version of the bumping dance, and once again, it's the same version from Feeding Sheep in the Winter, where it has the same clip of the baby son giggling at the end. Dipsy's both the missing Teletubby and the Boo Shouter. So, and there you have it, guys. Now I'll do the other seasons when we find the episodes that we're still missing from those 3 seasons. So, yeah. So, thank you all for watching, and have a great day.